Me to talk about this on the show today. We have a strategy consultant, Kenny Adinugba, here with me in the studio. Kenny, good morning.
Good morning.
Great to see you.
Good to see you again.
Great. And we will be having Reverend David Ugolo, the Executive Director of African Network for Environment and Economic Justice. He'll be joining us on Skype as we get along on the show this morning. Now, Kenny, corruption. We have talked about corruption over the years.
Yes.
The last 20 years, I must say, has been one discussion about corruption or the other. In fact, even more than that. But the last 20 years has been,
more
focused because it's democratic rule and, and the freedom to speak, the freedom to act, and the freedom to see some things. But talk to us, are we winning the war against corruption in this country? From what you are seeing generally?
We're not. We're not winning the war. That's the truth. If you look at it, I think a lot of times we play to the gallery, try to tell ourselves, oh, this government is winning the war. But the question is, the government actually gets more enmeshed right in corruption every single day. You hear all manner of things when it comes, and corruption is not just all about money. It's not all about assets. It's also corruption in the area of placement, resources. How do you place resources?
Both human
and material.
Or material.
Material, human, financial, whichever way. So corruption is not, most of the time when we talk about corruption, we look at finances. Oh, somebody has taken $300 million and what have you. How about nepotism? How about other areas that there are imbalances all over the place? And that's corruption. So when we talk about corruption, it's not just all about financial matters. We talk about human resources. We talk about material resources and everything. So how do we manage all these things? How do we appropriate what is not ours? Or hand over things that are not supposed to be to other people when the right people should have done it? So how do we engage stakeholders and what have you? How do we make people to look away from what is right?
But what do you think is at the center of this? Because if someone says it is poverty, that poverty is the reason why people, are scrambling and scavenging for this. We have seen people who are very comfortable, well-to-do, who are even wealthy, allegations against them one way or the other. So is it a mindset thing, or what is that thing that is making even those who have all the wherewithal to even give monies to countries, other African countries as the case may be, being involved or grabbing to themselves?
Well, if you look at it really, one, you call it poverty of the mind. See, a man can be rich, but he's poor in his mindset. He has this mentality of, I need to grab more so that I don't go broke. One. Secondly, greed. Avarice. Greed is when you become insatiable with just taking in, regardless of whether you have more than enough to last your generations, to come. So when you look at some of these things, it's actually pathetic that the people you believe or think that, okay, fine, should actually even be given back to the people are the ones taken from the people. The reality on ground is the fact that we must realize that the moment impunity becomes entrenched, we began to run into trouble. The traditional African society actually had measures to curb these kind of things. Because when you know that if you do something, you go for it, you pay the price, people would hold back. Let me give you an example. If we're on the road now and we're driving and there's traffic, you find that, okay, some people actually will say, let me just take one way so that I can turn off in the next turning quickly. People are watching.
Instead of waiting for your time on the
so
queue.
The moment he goes ahead and makes that, inconvenient move, and perhaps, of course, definitely a wrong move, people are watching. They're waiting and watching. If no one stops him in front
and penalizes
him, maybe they just impound him his vehicle straight away and arrest him. In 2 minutes, you see others following suit. And those are the problems we have.
Especially in Lagos.
Especially in Lagos. Well, not only in Lagos, really.
I'm just saying.
But, yeah, but
in the analogy of your traffic.
So in a way, what makes corruption to thrive is impunity. I mean, Lee Kuan Yew said something. I mean, I watched it when he said, how come Singapore actually end up the way it is today? He said one particular minister went on vacation with a businessman. And when they came back, the minister was queried, arrested, and prosecuted because as far as the system was concerned, you must actually, whatever you've gone to do there, there's no way you will come back and this man's, things will come to your table as minister that you will not favor him unduly. So in one word, you're already compromised. And the moment that happened, everybody began to be careful. If today, the president, as we had it all over, he will even jail his brother if the person, and nothing has happened. We've seen people who are ministers being indicted for certain things. We've seen directors and what have you, and nothing has happened. But if you find a minister going to jail, or two going to jail within this system today, others will be careful. But because there's impunity, anybody can get away with anything. And so everything is like nothing has changed. Really.
So all of the mechanism and machinery that is put in place by government, whether they are corruption fighting agencies or certain policies like the TSA and all of those things that are put together to check excesses and leakages and siphoning from the system, are you saying they're not genuine originally?
Well, you may have genuine reasons to want to do certain things, but where is the will? You see, when government has a will, they can make things happen. But where you have the head of an agency that's supposed to be fighting corruption, also being indicted of corruption, whether falsely or erroneously or rightly, it wouldn't matter. The fact remains that where I come from, they said there's no smoke without fire. If you get indicted as the head of the natural thing is for you to, to clear your name, resign and tell them, investigate. But when you do not do that, you already told the people.
But do public officials resign in Nigeria?
In Nigeria, well, one did. One public officer resigned in Nigeria, and that's kudos to Kemi Adeosun, former minister. Others will not. Now we have an issue at hand right now, which I probably wouldn't want to go into. The Minister of Communications matter.
But certainly there were so many reports of so many things that went down that led to that resignation by the minister you talked about.
It wouldn't matter, but others would still have stayed put. That's the reality. She resigned. Whatever had happened in the background, I don't want to get into all of that. But would you tell me that things had not happened in the background for others as well who decided to stay put and nobody did anything about it? So the question is, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, where are we coming from? Where are we today? But the future is not too exciting. Like the person who left here on the business segment said, he's not a Jeremiah. So he would not prophesy certain things, but at the same time, he will not talk about doom.
Yeah, but the point is, when we look at, because the analysis one does, apart from giving hope and inspiration to people, it is the issue of looking at what is on ground right now, from the statistics, from the data, and projecting to see what is ahead of us, what can change or what we should change. If we don't do this, this can happen and all of that. Now, from the standpoint where we are right now, with the way you're saying, in fact, this administration, when they came up, the three cardinal points.
We were very hopeful.
Yeah, the three cardinal points the president brought on board in 2015. Corruption was one of the strongest, one of its core that he wanted to fight.
Yes.
All right. We see motion. Whether Nigerians are satisfied is totally a different thing. But from the reports of Transparency International and all of those international agencies against corruption, Nigeria is still, and from all the data and the ratings, Nigeria is still not winning the war. What do you say about all that?
Well, we're not winning the war because, like I said earlier, where there is a will, there is a way. If government,
so the will here may not be adequate.
The will is not adequate.
Okay.
Well, you will see flashes of brilliance when it comes to the need to push these things. But suddenly, everything dissipates. The energy dissipates. And you're asking yourself, what's going on somewhere? Is somebody pulling the string somewhere? So it becomes quite disheartening, really, really disheartening that a government that came on the platform of we're going to fight corruption, and people were like, you know what, this is the government. Today, a lot of them can't talk and say anything any longer because the government has disappointed the people in the light of what they promised when it comes to fighting corruption. Because in this, if today it were to be done rightly, we shouldn't be finding and seeing things that we're seeing today. And civil society is trying to come up with some of these things, actually talking about it and what have you. And then, of course, we need to talk about transparency in governance, which is very important. So if you hide in a lot of things, it shows there are skeletons. It's natural to think that way, even if there are not. If there are no skeletons, well, why would you want to hold back information?
But talking about transparency, though, how do we balance between how transparent or how open you can be and what government secrecy should be? Because there are some things that government may not necessarily just divulge to the society or to the public. How do we balance that? It's because sometimes there's the issue of, it's government secrecy for security reasons. This cannot be, for whatever reason, this cannot be made known to the public.
You see, we would use that as alibi. We will use that as reasons not to divulge the right information. There is a Freedom of Information Bill.
Exactly.
And that bill actually stipulates things. Yeah, law. Sorry, rather law is now into law. Now, the FOI actually also stipulates areas that you can ask information on. And when you ask for this information, the question is, are they released? One. Secondly, of course, we all know, generally all over the world, there are what we call secret matters. Those are non-go area. They're not. We call it classified.
Yeah.
But classified comes in the areas of security, particularly, and maybe foreign affairs matters and what have you. Some things are classified in that regard, but not on budget, not on fiscal policies. You can't tell me that fiscal policies and budgetary issues are classified information. So that's why I'm saying that if anybody is running under that umbrella,
that narrative,
they're just being mischievous. Because the truth of the matter is people need to know, and it helps when people know things. Because it takes away the factor of guesswork and insinuations, because it's there for people to read. Government needs to do more when it comes to information dissemination and orientation. That's why the other time I was here, I talked about National Orientation Agency. What are they doing? People must know things. Our Ministry of Information must not come and just be bamboozling people to say, oh, this is what's going on. People they hate, is government haters. No. People want information, genuine information. When we have it, we can process it, we can analyze the information, and then make informed decisions. But when we don't have those things, we are left to insinuate, we are left to conjectures that may not be right. And we have no option than to go with those conjectures, because the government that's supposed to actually give us the right information is hoarding it. And when you hoard such things, you only create platforms for people to come up with different theories, whether conspiratory or not, it doesn't matter. So those are the challenges we have.
Where we are right now, is it late for us to get it right? You mentioned Singapore earlier when you talked about Lee Kuan Yew, and certainly there are several other countries that have gotten their, or put their house in order when it comes to getting these things right. Where Nigeria is right now, do you think that we are on track, or is it too late for us to come back from the woods?
Well, it's never too late. That's where optimism comes in. It's never too late, and at the same time, we will have generations that will actually take a stand and say, you know what, if we don't do this right, we're all doomed. And that generation or those generations may not be the generation of those who are in government today. That's the truth. We saw Ghana had its own time, and it's helped the nation up till now. You will talk about a few other countries, and even in Africa. There's a film that was made about a particular country. you know, the issue of that's Botswana. And it's about leadership, ultimately. That's the truth. If you do not have leadership that is strategic and futuristic, that leads into the future, you will always have this problem. But when the leadership looks at it and say, you know what, let us plan for the future. Let us be future-led. And you can't be future-led and allow certain things to go the way it's going today. Because now what we have is what we have today is like eunuch leadership. Leadership by eunuchs. A eunuch does not believe that he has anyone to perpetuate his lineage. So whatever he gets today, he wants to eat it now. So that when he's out of, when his time expires, when he's expired, he knows that it is expired and there's nothing to live for anybody. That's the way I see what is going on right now, the kind of leadership we have. So I call it eunuch leadership, where we have people who do not think about the future. That's why you have governors who will say, you know what, just give us the money now, it doesn't matter. And we have a government that will say, you know what, let us borrow even tomorrow. Let us borrow tomorrow's prosperity with as long as today is okay for us. So these are the challenges we have.
We've had from reports we get and the statistics and monitoring the continent, we've had some success stories from a country like Tanzania, for instance, Rwanda, for instance, who the leaders are, transforming. Even Ghana, being decisive, although they are not there yet, but as in where they should be at. But we see decisions that are made, being firm regarding some areas of development and guiding the country towards a certain. What would it take to take Nigeria or move Nigeria in that kind of direction where citizens are feeling, oh yeah, I think this is what we've been looking for?
Now, you see, for me, you must have forthright leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Go check those countries you're talking about. What is the foundation? What foundation have they laid in the last 20, 30 years? The reality on ground is the fact that the military messed up our national life. Everything today, we can blame the politicians, but the military messed up our national life from 1966. We have a flash of democratic rule in 79 to 83, was truncated in December 31st. And from that time again, up till 1999, the military messed up our national life. And so, whatever we're talking about today, ask yourself, how much of military government did Tanzania experience? How much of military governance did, Botswana experience? So, when we look at some of those things, we must come to the fact that yes, democracy is here now, and that's why, like you said earlier at the beginning, now we can talk, now we can ask questions. You wouldn't be able to do all of this in a military setting. It's by rule of government, it's rule of people by gun. So you talk, you're taken to the gulag. So in a way, it's not impossible. In Africa today, we have it. We have some nations that have that flash of goodness. And we can have it as well. If only and if we begin to look at responsible leadership that is future-led. And that is what you have in some of those countries. Tanzania, you can see, you see Walimu, Julius Nyerere.
Yeah, from the days of
Julius Nyerere. Even Zambia had that fantastic run, in the days of Kenneth Kaunda. So now, when we look at some of these things, we must ask ourselves questions. What kind of leadership are we looking for? Now today, what part of the problem is, like I always say, the citizenry is also part of the problem. How much are we crying for the right leadership? Or we're just waiting, let it be my turn. And then I can also...
The turn of our ethnic group or our region, as
or our family members.
Family member.
So then we also get out of poverty.
We have to leave it here now. Kenny Adenuba, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
It's always a delight to have you on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.